Captain Sarah Chen stared at the red warning lights flashing across her command screen. The colony ship Defiance had been drifting through space for 3 days now, following what their navigation computer insisted was a safe route to the new settlement worlds. But space had other plans. "Captain, we're picking up multiple contacts on long-range sensors," reported Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. His voice carried a tension that made Sarah's stomach tighten. 7 ships approaching fast from 3 directions. Sarah moved to stand behind Torres, watching the sensor display paint a picture she didn't like. The approaching ships were large, angular, and moving in perfect formation. Their design was unlike anything in the human databases. "Distance and time to intercept?" she asked. 12 minutes at current approach speed," Torres replied. "Captain, their energy signatures are massive. These aren't merchant vessels." Chief Engineer Marcus Webb climbed up from the lower decks, wiping grease from his hands with an old rag. "How bad is it?" he asked, reading the expressions on the bridge crew's faces. "We're about to find out," Sarah said. She pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, this is the captain. We have unknown vessels approaching our position. All crew report to emergency stations. This is not a drill." The Defiance held nearly 8,000 colonists in stasis pods along with 500 active crew members. They were farmers, engineers, teachers, and families looking for a new start on a distant world. None of them had signed up for a fight. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Park. "They're broadcasting on standard frequencies." "Put it through," Sarah ordered. The main screen flickered, then displayed the face of something that definitely wasn't human. The alien had pale blue skin stretched tight over sharp bone structure. Its eyes were large and completely black, and when it spoke, its voice carried the cold certainty of someone used to being obeyed. "Human vessel, you have entered hegemony space without authorization. Your ship and all occupants are now property of the Hegemony Alliance. Prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in the immediate destruction of your vessel." Sarah felt the bridge go quiet around her. She could hear the hum of life support systems and the distant sound of crew members running through corridors to their stations. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth colony ship Defiance," she replied, keeping her voice steady. "We are peaceful travelers on our way to establish a new settlement. We have no hostile intentions and request safe passage through this region." The alien's expression didn't change. "Your intentions are irrelevant. The hegemony has use for your species. You will surrender your vessel immediately, or we will take it by force. Your people will be processed for labor assignment in the mining facilities." "Labor assignment?" Sarah repeated. "Your species shows adequate physical capability for hazardous work environments. The radiation levels in our asteroid mining operations are lethal to most civilized species. But preliminary scans indicate humans can survive longer exposure. You will be useful." Marcus stepped closer to Sarah's command chair. "Captain," he whispered, "they're talking about using us as slave labor in radioactive mines." Sarah nodded slightly, never taking her eyes off the alien on the screen. "What if we refuse?" The alien tilted its head in what might have been amusement. "Then we will destroy your ship and recover what survivors we can from the wreckage. The outcome remains the same." "You said preliminary scans," Sarah noted. "How much do you actually know about humans?" "Enough. You are a primitive species with basic technology and limited military capability. Your emotional responses are chaotic and unpredictable, making you unsuitable for complex tasks but adequate for simple manual labor." Sarah caught something in the alien's tone. Dismissive, arrogant, but also uncertain. They were making assumptions based on limited information. "I need time to consider your offer," she said. "You have 10 minutes to begin surrender procedures. Hegemony warships are already moving to surround your vessel." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. "Options?" Sarah asked her crew. "Our weapons are designed for asteroid deflection and emergency situations," Webb said. "Against military ships, they're basically useless. But, Captain, did you notice something about their vessels?" "What? Look at their formation." "It's perfect. Too perfect. They're flying like they're following a computer program, not making tactical decisions. And their ships are huge, but they're moving like they're carrying a lot of automated systems." Torres looked up from his sensor station. "The captain's right. Their energy signatures show massive power cores. But most of that power is going to internal systems, not weapons or shields. It's like their ships are designed to be overwhelming rather than efficient." Dr. Lisa Park, the ship's xenobiologist, had joined them on the bridge. Did anyone else notice how that alien talked about human emotional responses being chaotic and unpredictable? They said it like it was a bad thing. Because to them, it probably is, Sarah realized. They operate on rigid patterns and expectations. They can't understand why anyone would act unpredictably. Which means they can't predict what we might do, Webb added. Sarah looked at the tactical display showing the approaching hegemony ships. They were indeed moving in perfect formation, following what looked like textbook military procedures. But textbooks assumed your enemy would also follow the textbook. What do we know about the local asteroid field? She asked. Torres pulled up a navigation chart. It's dense, unstable, with a lot of electromagnetic interference from mineral deposits. Standard procedure is to go around it, not through it. Standard procedure, Sarah repeated. Torres, plot a course directly into that asteroid field. Webb, I need you to start modifying our mining equipment. If we're going to be in a fight, we need to think like miners, not soldiers. Captain, Dr. Park said quietly. Are you sure about this? We have 8,000 people in stasis. Sarah looked around at her crew. These weren't military officers. They were explorers, scientists, and engineers who had signed up to build a new world, not fight a war. But the hegemony had made the choice for them. The aliens assume we'll surrender because that's what civilized species do when faced with overwhelming force, she said. They're counting on us to be predictable and logical. But humans have never been accused of being too logical. What's the plan? Webb asked. We're going to do something they won't expect. We're going to run directly toward the most dangerous place in the local system. And we're going to make them chase us into an environment that favors the crazy humans over the organized aliens. Sarah settled into her command chair and activated the ship-wide communication system again. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to enter a hazardous asteroid field while being pursued by hostile alien forces. I know this isn't what any of us planned when we left Earth, but sometimes the universe has different ideas. We're going to show these aliens that humans don't surrender. We adapt. All crew prepare for emergency maneuvers. She nodded to Torres. Take us into the field. And Torres? Don't follow any standard navigation procedures. I want you to fly this ship like you're trying to lose someone in a maze. The Defiance changed course, heading directly toward the chaotic swirl of asteroids and electromagnetic storms that filled the space ahead. Behind them, the hegemony ships paused in their perfect formation, as if their computers were struggling to understand why anyone would deliberately choose the most dangerous path available. That moment of confusion was exactly what Sarah Chen was counting on. The Defiance plunged into the asteroid field like a fish diving into coral reef. Around them, chunks of rock the size of buildings tumbled through space, some glowing with strange minerals that painted the darkness in shades of blue and green. Lieutenant Torres gripped his controls, sweat beading on his forehead as he guided the massive colony ship between the floating mountains. Captain, I'm reading massive electromagnetic interference. Our sensors are getting scrambled. What about theirs? Sarah asked, watching the tactical display flicker with static. Same problem, but worse. Their ships are bigger, so they can't maneuver as quickly as we can. Behind them, the hegemony vessels had followed into the field, but their perfect formation was already breaking apart. The lead ship had to suddenly change course to avoid a spinning asteroid, and the others struggled to maintain their organized pattern. They're having trouble, observed Dr. Park, who was monitoring the alien ships from a science station. Their computers seem to be calculating too many variables at once. Marcus Webb's voice crackled over the communication system from the engineering decks. Captain, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is I've rigged our mining lasers to work as defensive weapons. The bad news is we've only got enough power for maybe 6 shots before we overload the system. How powerful are these shots? Sarah asked. Well, they're designed to cut through solid rock, so they should at least get their attention. A proximity alarm started blaring. Torres yanked the ship hard to starboard as a massive asteroid tumbled past their bow, close enough that they could see the pitted surface of ancient impact craters. Contact, shouted Communications Officer Park. The lead hegemony ship is trying to get a weapons lock on us. Return fire, Sarah ordered. Let's see how they like our mining equipment. The Defiance's modified mining laser lanced out, a brilliant blue beam that struck the alien ship's shields. The energy barrier flared and sparked, clearly not designed to handle that particular type of focused energy. Direct hit, Torres called out. Their shields are fluctuating. The hegemony ship immediately pulled back, apparently surprised that the human vessel could fight back effectively. But 3 more alien ships were moving to surround them, trying to box the Defiance in against a cluster of larger asteroids. They're trying to trap us, Sarah realized. Torres, can you get us deeper into the field? There's a passage between those 2 large asteroids ahead, but it's narrow. I mean really narrow. If I'm off by even a few meters, do it. Torres took a deep breath and pushed the ship forward. The Defiance squeezed between 2 asteroids that were easily 10 times the ship's size, scraping through a gap that left barely any room for error. Sparks flew as small debris scraped along their hull. The hegemony ships tried to follow, but their larger size worked against them. The first alien vessel had to abort its approach when it became clear it wouldn't fit through the passage. Ha! Torres laughed. They're too big to follow us through here. Don't celebrate yet, Sarah warned. They'll find another way around. Dr. Park looked up from her monitoring station. Captain, I'm detecting some interesting patterns in their behavior. When we do something unexpected, there's always a delay before they respond. It's like they have to check with their computers before making any decisions. How long of a delay? Anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on how unusual our action is. Sarah filed that information away. 30 seconds might not sound like much, but in a space battle, it could be the difference between life and death. Captain, Webb's voice came through the communication system again. I've been thinking about what that alien said earlier. About humans being good for dangerous work because we can handle radiation exposure better than other species. What about it? Well, what if that's not the only thing we're better at? What if we handle other kinds of stress better too, like the stress of flying through an unstable asteroid field? Sarah looked around the bridge. Her crew was definitely stressed, but they were still functioning. Torres was still making split-second navigation decisions. Park was still monitoring multiple systems at once. Everyone was adapting to the situation in real time. You might be onto something, she said. These aliens seem to rely heavily on their computers and predetermined responses. But humans are used to dealing with chaos. Exactly. Think about Earth. Earthquakes, storms, floods, diseases. We've been dealing with unpredictable disasters for thousands of years. We're basically evolved to handle situations where the rules keep changing. A new alarm sounded. Captain, Torres reported, the hegemony ships have split up. 2 of them are going around the asteroid cluster to cut us off, and 2 more are trying to force their way through a different passage. Time until intercept? 8 minutes for the ones going around, maybe 5 for the ones coming through. Sarah made a decision that would have horrified any military strategist. Torres, I want you to head directly toward that unstable asteroid cluster dead ahead. The one that's been marked as extremely hazardous on all the navigation charts. Captain, that cluster is actively collapsing. The gravitational forces are tearing it apart. If we go in there, we might get crushed by falling rocks. But if we stay here, we'll definitely get captured by aliens who want to use us as slave labor in radioactive mines. I'll take the rocks. Dr. Park pulled up the scientific data on the cluster. The gravitational anomalies are causing the asteroids to break apart and collide with each other. It's like a slow-motion explosion that's been going on for months. How slow? Sarah asked. The computer predicts it will take approximately 47 years for the cluster to completely disperse. But the individual rock movements are happening much faster than that, right? Yes, some chunks are moving and colliding every few seconds. Sarah smiled. Then it's perfect. Torres, take us in. And I want you to forget everything you learned in navigation school. Don't plot a safe course, don't follow traffic patterns, and definitely don't do what the computer recommends. I want you to fly like you're playing a video game. A video game? React to what you see, not what you think should happen. Trust your instincts, not the instruments. Torres nodded, though he looked nervous. The Defiance accelerated toward the collapsing asteroid cluster, where rocks the size of cities were slowly grinding against each other in a cosmic dance of destruction. Behind them, the hegemony ships paused again. Clearly their computers were having trouble processing why anyone would deliberately fly into such an obviously dangerous area. They're hesitating, reported Dr. Park. All 4 ships have stopped their pursuit. Good. That gives us a head start. The first asteroids of the outer cluster began to fill their view screen. Some were spinning slowly, others tumbling end over end. All of them were scarred with fresh impact craters from collisions with their neighbors. Here we go, Torres muttered, and guided the Defiance into the chaos. Almost immediately, everything changed. The ship bucked and twisted as gravitational forces from the massive rocks pulled them in different directions. Torres fought with the controls, making constant corrections to avoid collisions. "Asteroid coming in from starboard," Park called out. Torres rolled the ship and a chunk of rock the size of a skyscraper tumbled past their position, missing them by less than a kilometer. Another one port side. This time Torres dove under the obstacle, using the ship's vertical thrusters to drop below the asteroid's path. "They're following us in," Park announced. 2 hegemony ships just entered the cluster. Sarah watched the tactical display as the alien vessels tried to navigate the same obstacles that Torres was handling with increasingly confident skill. But where the human pilot was reacting instantly to new threats, the alien ships kept pausing, as if waiting for their computers to calculate the best response. "One of them just clipped an asteroid," Park reported with satisfaction. "Their shields are down to 60%, and the other one? Trying to back out of the cluster. I think their computer told them it was too dangerous." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had superior technology and overwhelming firepower, but they had one critical weakness. They couldn't adapt as quickly as humans could. The question was whether that weakness would be enough to keep 8,000 colonists from becoming slaves in alien mines. The collision was not part of the plan. Torres had been doing brilliantly, weaving the Defiance through the chaotic asteroid field like he was born to it. But even the best pilot couldn't account for everything. When a building-sized chunk of rock suddenly broke apart right in front of them, there was nowhere to go but into it. "Brace for impact," Sarah shouted. The Defiance slammed into what turned out to be a hegemony mining facility built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. The ship's reinforced hull, designed to handle the stresses of interstellar travel, punched through the facility's outer shell like a bullet through paper. Emergency lights flashed as the ship came to rest inside a vast artificial cavern. Through the bridge windows, Sarah could see alien machinery and structures stretching into the darkness. "Damage report," she called out, picking herself up from where the impact had thrown her. "Hull breach in sections 7 through 12, Webb reported from engineering. But the emergency bulkheads held. We're venting atmosphere in the damaged areas, but life support is stable in the rest of the ship." "What about the aliens?" Dr. Park was studying her sensors. "I'm reading massive structural damage to this facility. Whatever we hit it hard. But Captain, I'm also detecting thousands of life signs throughout this complex." "Hegemony personnel?" "Some, but not all. The biosignatures are showing dozens of different species." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "Show me." The main screen displayed a 3-dimensional map of the facility. It was enormous, carved out of an asteroid that must have been 50 kilometers across, and scattered throughout the complex were small dots representing living beings. "My God," whispered Torres. "There are so many of them." "Captain," Webb's voice came through the communication system, "you need to see this." "I'm in the cargo bay looking through the breach we made. This place, it's not just a mining facility, it's a prison." Sarah made a decision that went against every regulation in the book. "Dr. Park, you're with me." Torres maintained communications with the ship and monitor for any approaching hegemony vessels. "If they show up, we run." "Captain, you can't go out there," Torres protested. "We don't know what kind of atmosphere they have, what kind of diseases." "That's why I'm bringing the xenobiologist," Sarah replied, checking her sidearm. "Besides, if we're going to survive in this part of space, we need to understand what we're dealing with." The cargo bay was a mess of twisted metal and scattered supplies. Through the hole their ship had punched in the facility's wall, Sarah could see a long corridor stretching into the distance. The artificial gravity was lighter than Earth normal, and the air smelled of recycled oxygen and industrial chemicals. "Atmosphere is breathable," Dr. Park confirmed, checking her portable scanner. "Oxygen levels are a bit low, but not dangerous." They stepped through the breach and into the alien facility. The corridor was lined with doors, hundreds of them, each marked with symbols that meant nothing to human eyes. "Captain," Park whispered, "my scanner is picking up life signs behind these doors. Lots of them." Sarah approached the nearest door and found what looked like a control panel. When she touched it, the panel lit up with alien text that scrolled past too quickly to read. "Can you understand any of this?" she asked Park. "Not the writing, but I think I can figure out the basic controls." Park studied the panel for a moment, then pressed a sequence of symbols. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a small room containing 3 beings that definitely weren't human. They looked like they might have been mammals once, with gray fur and large eyes. When they saw Sarah and Park, they immediately cowered against the far wall. "It's okay," Sarah said gently, holding up her hands to show she wasn't armed. "We're not here to hurt you." One of the creatures spoke in a language that sounded like whistles and clicks. Dr. Park pulled out her universal translator, a device that could analyze speech patterns and attempt basic communication. After a few minutes of back and forth, the translator began producing recognizable words. "You, not hegemony?" the creature asked haltingly. "No, we're humans. We crashed into this place by accident. Are you prisoners here?" The creature's large eyes widened. "Human, we hear stories. Humans fight back. Humans not surrender." "Stories from who?" "Traitors, smugglers. They say humans make hegemony angry because humans not follow rules." Sarah and Park exchanged glances. "What kind of rules?" "Hegemony rules: submit, obey, work until dead. All species do this for many generations. But humans do different." Dr. Park leaned forward. "How many species are imprisoned here?" The creature held up its hands, then seemed to realize humans might not understand the gesture. "Many, 43 different worlds. All taken by hegemony. All forced to work in dangerous places." "For how long?" "My people taken 300 years ago. Some here longer." Sarah felt anger building in her chest. 300 years of slavery. And this was just one facility. Why haven't you tried to escape? The creature made a sound that might have been bitter laughter. "Where go? Hegemony controls all space. Even if escape this place, nowhere safe. Hegemony finds everyone eventually." "What if that changed?" Sarah asked. "What if there was a way to fight back?" "Cannot fight hegemony. Too strong. Too many ships." Dr. Park touched Sarah's arm. "Captain, we should get back to the ship. If the hegemony responds to our crash..." But Sarah was thinking about something else. "How many prisoners are in this facility?" "Many thousands. Maybe 20,000 total. And they're all skilled workers? Engineers, miners, technicians?" "Yes, hegemony only keeps useful ones alive." An idea was forming in Sarah's mind. A crazy, impossible idea that would have horrified any reasonable person. But then again, reasonable people didn't crash their ships into alien prisons. "What's your name?" she asked the creature. "Crix," the universal translator provided. Was engineer on Homeworld before hegemony came. "Crix, how would you like to help us break everyone out of here?" The creature's eyes went wide with terror. "Cannot. Hegemony will kill us all." "The hegemony is already killing you, just slowly. What if I told you that humans have been fighting them successfully? That we've been making them angry because we refuse to follow their rules? Is true?" "It's true. And I think it's time someone taught the hegemony that their rules don't apply to everyone." Sarah activated her communication device. "Webb, this is the captain. How long would it take you to get our ship functional again?" "Maybe 6 hours for basic flight capability." "Why?" "Because we're about to do something that's either brilliant or completely insane. Start working on those repairs and get ready to expand our passenger capacity." "Captain, we already have 8,000 people in stasis. We're about to have a lot more." Sarah turned back to Crix. "I need you to spread the word quietly. Tell the other prisoners that the humans are here and we're going to try something that the hegemony won't expect." "What will you do?" "Something no reasonable species would ever attempt. We're going to steal this entire facility and everyone in it." Dr. Park stared at her. "Captain, that's impossible. This facility is built into an asteroid. We can't just fly it away." "Why not?" Sarah asked. "It's got life support, artificial gravity, and structural integrity. All we need to do is figure out how to move it. The hegemony will never let us get away with it." Sarah smiled, and for the first time since this whole mess started, she felt truly confident. "Dr. Park, you're thinking like a civilized person. The hegemony expects civilized behavior. They expect surrender, negotiation, reasonable responses to impossible situations. And what are we going to do instead? We're going to do what humans do best. We're going to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And we're going to do it in a way that their computers can't predict or counter." Sarah looked at Crix, who was staring at her with a mixture of hope and terror. "Tell your people to get ready. In a few hours, this prison is going to become a refugee transport, and the hegemony is going to learn that humans don't just fight back when cornered." "What do we do instead?" Crix asked. "We take everyone with us." The discovery came by accident, as most important discoveries do. Dr. Park was trying to interface with the facility's computer systems when she found something that made her call for Captain Chen immediately. "You need to see this," Park said, her voice tight with excitement and fear. "I've been digging through their databases, and I found historical records. Very old ones." Sarah hurried to the makeshift command center they had set up in one of the facility's control rooms. Around them, former prisoners from dozens of species were working alongside human crew members, jury-rigging systems and preparing for what everyone hoped would be a spectacular escape. "What kind of records?" Sarah asked. "Records about a species the hegemony calls the First Builders. According to these files, they appeared in this galaxy about 50,000 years ago. They built impossible things, created technology that the hegemony still doesn't understand, and then vanished without a trace." "Okay, that's interesting. But how does it help us steal a prison asteroid?" Dr. Park pulled up a three-dimensional model on the screen. "Because this facility isn't just built inside an asteroid, Captain. It's built around something much older, something that the hegemony found and decided to use as the foundation for their prison." The model rotated, showing layers of construction. The outer shell was clearly hegemony work, brutal, efficient, designed for containment. But at the core was something else entirely: smooth curves, elegant proportions, and technology that seemed to blend form and function in ways that human eyes found strangely familiar. They built their prison around a First Builder installation, Sarah realized. "Exactly. And Captain, I think I know why you decided to crash into this place." "Because Torres couldn't avoid the asteroid debris?" "No. Because something in your brain recognized what this place really was. Think about it. You had split seconds to decide where to aim when impact became inevitable. You could have hit any part of the facility, but you aimed for the section that would get us closest to the First Builder technology." Sarah frowned. "That's impossible. I've never seen First Builder technology before. Haven't you?" Dr. Park pulled up another display, this one showing structural comparisons. "Look at the proportions, the design philosophy, the way they integrate different systems. Captain, this looks like human architecture." The similarity was undeniable. Where hegemony construction was all hard angles and obvious function, the First Builder design had the organic flow that humans instinctively preferred. It looked like something that could have been built on Earth, if Earth had access to technology thousands of years more advanced. "That's not possible," Sarah said. "Humans have only been in space for a few hundred years. What if we weren't the first humans in space?" Dr. Park asked quietly. Before Sarah could respond, Crix appeared in the doorway. The small alien had become their unofficial liaison with the other prisoners, and right now he looked terrified. "Captain Chen, we have big problem. The Dying Keeper wants to see you." "Dying Keeper? Oldest prisoner here?" "She knows things. Important things. But she is very sick. Maybe only hours left." Sarah followed Crix through corridors that were now bustling with activity, as thousands of prisoners prepared for an escape that most of them didn't really believe was possible. They reached a section of the facility that felt different from the rest. Older, with that same organic architecture they had seen in the First Builder core. The Dying Keeper was not what Sarah had expected. She was tall, with silver skin that seemed to shimmer in the artificial light. Her species was clearly very old, and her eyes held the weight of knowledge accumulated over many lifetimes. "You are the human captain," she said, her voice weak but clear. The universal translator rendered her words with an accent that reminded Sarah of something she couldn't quite place. "Yes. Crix said you wanted to see me. I wanted to see if the stories were true, if you were really them," returned at last. "I don't understand." The keeper struggled to sit up straighter. "I am Velan of the Archive Keepers. My people have been prisoners here for 800 years. But before that, we were librarians. We collected and preserved the histories of all species." "What histories?" "The true histories. Not the versions the hegemony tells. I know the story of the First Builder's human captain. I know why they left, and I know why they said they would return." Sarah felt something cold settle in her stomach. "Tell me, 50,000 years ago, a young species discovered faster than light travel and spread across the galaxy. They were curious, creative, and stubborn. They asked questions that made older species uncomfortable. They built things that seemed impossible. They turned war zones into gardens and convinced enemies to become friends. The First Builders, the humans," Velan corrected. "The first humans to reach the stars. They called themselves the Children of Earth, and they changed everything they touched. Sarah felt the ground shifting under her feet. That's impossible. The elder species of that time did not think it was impossible. They thought it was dangerous. A species that could inspire others to question the established order, that could create technology by intuition rather than calculation, that could adapt to any situation. They were afraid, so they drove them out. They tried to destroy them entirely. But the humans were too clever, too adaptable. When defeat became certain, they did something unprecedented. They deleted themselves from the galaxy. What does that mean? Velen's breathing was becoming labored, but she continued. They used their most advanced technology to erase all traces of their civilization. Their cities, their ships, their people, all of it disappeared overnight. But before they left, they planted seeds, and seeds? Genetic seeds on their homeworld. Programming that would ensure their species would evolve again, would eventually reach the stars again, and when they did, they would carry the same creative spark, the same stubborn refusal to accept that things cannot be changed. Sarah stared at the dying alien. You're saying that modern humans are descended from an earlier human civilization? I am saying that you are them, returned as they promised. Look around you, human captain. In one day, you have done what thousands of species have failed to do in thousands of years. You have brought hope back to the galaxy. We haven't escaped yet. Escape? Velen made a sound that might have been laughter. Child, you are not trying to escape. You are trying to wake up the galaxy. And down in the first builder core of this facility, you have the tools to do it. What tools? The network, Velen whispered. The first builders left a network of installations throughout the galaxy, all connected, all waiting for their creators to return. This facility was built around one of the network nodes. If you can activate it, what happens? Every first builder installation in the galaxy comes online. All the hidden technology, all the sleeping systems, everything your ancestors built to prepare for your return. Sarah felt the weight of impossible possibilities settling on her shoulders. How do I activate it? You cannot, Velen said. But your ship's computer can. Human technology, even primitive human technology, carries the activation codes in its basic programming. Your ancestors made sure that any future human civilization would have the keys to reclaim their legacy. Why are you telling me this? Velen's eyes were closing, but she smiled. Because I have waited 800 years to see the children of Earth return. I wanted to be here when the galaxy remembered what hope looks like. She died quietly, with a peaceful expression on her ancient face. Sarah stood in the silence of the room, trying to process what she had just learned. If Velen was right, if humans really were the descendants of the first builders, then everything changed. They weren't just trying to escape from one prison facility. They were potentially about to wake up technology that had been sleeping for 50,000 years. She activated her communication device. Webb, this is the captain. I need you to interface our ship's computer with the facility's core systems. Captain, that could be dangerous. We don't know what kind of security systems they have. Do it anyway. And Webb, when you make the connection, don't be surprised if our computer recognizes something it shouldn't. What do you mean? Sarah looked around the room where Velen had spent her last years in captivity, holding on to the hope that someday the galaxy would change. I mean, we're about to find out if humans really are as special as everyone keeps telling us we are. The moment Marcus Webb connected the Defiance's computer to the facility's core systems, everything changed. Lights that had been dark for thousands of years suddenly blazed to life throughout the asteroid. Ancient machinery hummed back to activity, and in command centers across the galaxy, hegemony officers stared in shock as their sensors detected massive energy signatures appearing where nothing had been before. Captain, Webb's voice came through the communication system, filled with awe and terror. Our computer just downloaded about 50,000 years' worth of technical specifications. And I think our ship is trying to evolve. Sarah ran through corridors that were now lit with the soft organic glow of first builder technology. Around her, former prisoners were staring in wonder as the ancient systems came online, transforming their prison into something that resembled a city more than a detention facility. She reached the command center to find Dr. Park staring at displays that showed star maps spanning the entire galaxy. Thousands of points of light were appearing, each one representing a first builder installation coming back to life. How many? Sarah asked. I've stopped counting at 10,000, Park replied. Captain, There are first builder installations in every sector of the galaxy. Hidden bases, automated shipyards, research facilities. It's like they built a complete civilization and then just put it to sleep, and now it's waking up? Because we're here. The network recognizes human DNA, human technology, even human thought patterns. It's been waiting for us. Torres looked up from the navigation station. Captain, we've got incoming hegemony ships. A lot of them. Looks like every military vessel in this sector is converging on our position. How many? 237 ships at last count. And they're bringing some really big ones. Sarah felt a moment of panic. Even with first builder technology, they were still just one makeshift refugee transport, facing the entire hegemony fleet. Then Crix appeared beside her, his large eyes bright with excitement. Captain Chen, you must see this. The builders left us gifts. He led her to a wall display that was showing the asteroid's external structure. But now, instead of a hollowed-out rock, it looked like a ship. A massive, impossible ship with technology that seemed to bend the laws of physics. The entire asteroid is a first builder vessel, Park explained. The hegemony built their prison inside it without realizing what they had found. It's been dormant for millennia, but now it's operational, Webb finished, his voice coming through the speakers. Captain, this thing has weapons that make our mining lasers look like flashlights. And engines that could probably move a small moon. Can we control it? The computer interface is integrating with our systems. It's like it was designed to work with human operators. Sarah looked around the command center, where beings from dozens of species were working together, their faces lit with hope for the first time in generations. They had come here as prisoners, but they were about to leave as something else entirely. Torres, get us moving. I want to be clear of this position before the hegemony fleet arrives. Which direction? Sarah thought about Valen's words about sleeping networks and hidden installations. Toward the center of the galaxy. If there are more first builder sites out there, we need to find them. Captain, Park said urgently, the hegemony fleet is spreading out to surround us. They're trying to prevent any escape. Let them try. The asteroid ship began to move, accelerating with impossible smoothness. On the tactical display, Sarah watched the hegemony vessels scramble to intercept them, their perfect formations adapting to counter what they expected to be a desperate escape attempt. They were not prepared for what actually happened. Weapons online, Webb reported. And Captain, these aren't just weapons. They're creative. The first hegemony ship to fire on them discovered that their energy beams simply stopped working when they came within a certain distance of the asteroid. The second ship found its computer systems rewriting themselves to display poetry instead of tactical data. The third ship was suddenly broadcasting music from its communication arrays. They're not designed to destroy, Park realized, studying the weapon systems. They're designed to confuse, to overwhelm, to make the enemy question everything they think they know. That's very human, Sarah observed. More hegemony ships closed in, but their coordinated attack patterns began to fall apart as their systems were infiltrated by first builder technology that operated on principles their computers couldn't understand. Some ships found their artificial gravity rotating in impossible directions. Others discovered that their hull plating had suddenly become transparent, giving their crews spectacular views of space but no privacy. They're retreating, Torres announced with disbelief. The entire fleet is pulling back. Of course they are, Sarah said. They're facing technology that doesn't follow their rules. Their computers can't calculate responses to weapons that turn warships into art installations. Captain, Park called out, I'm receiving communications from other sectors. First builder installations are coming online across the galaxy, and they're all doing the same thing. What thing? Liberating hegemony prison facilities, freeing enslaved populations, and sending a message. What message? Park pulled up a display showing text in dozens of languages, all saying the same thing. The children of Earth have returned. The galaxy is free to choose its own path. Sarah felt the weight of 50,000 years of history settling on her shoulders. Her species hadn't just accidentally wandered into hegemony space. They had come home to reclaim a legacy they never knew they had. Captain, Crix said quietly, what happens now? The hegemony will not surrender easily. They control too much, have too many ships. Sarah looked out at the stars where ancient human technology was awakening after a sleep that had lasted longer than recorded history. Across the galaxy, species that had known only slavery and oppression for thousands of years were seeing hope for the first time. Now we do what humans have always done, she said. "We adapt, we improvise, and we refuse to accept that things can't be changed. But this time we're not doing it alone. The other species will help. The other species will remember how to help themselves." The hegemony's greatest weapon was convincing everyone that resistance was impossible, but now everyone can see that impossible things happen when you refuse to give up. Torres looked up from his station. "Captain, we're receiving transmission requests from freed facilities across the galaxy. They want to know what the plan is." Sarah smiled. "Tell them the plan is the same as it's always been. We're going to explore, we're going to build, and we're going to make sure that every species in this galaxy has the chance to choose their own destiny. And if the hegemony tries to stop us, then they'll learn what humanity's ancestors learned 50,000 years ago. You can't defeat a species that treats every impossible situation as just another problem to solve." The asteroid ship accelerated toward the galactic core, where more First Builder installations waited to be awakened. Behind them, the hegemony fleet regrouped and gave chase, their computers desperately trying to calculate responses to an enemy that had just rewritten all the rules. In the depths of space, ancient networks sparked to life, and across 1,000 worlds, species that had forgotten the meaning of freedom began to remember. The galaxy was about to discover that some things, once awakened, could never be put back to sleep. And at the center of it all, 8,000 human colonists slept peacefully in their stasis pods, completely unaware that they had just participated in the most significant liberation in galactic history. Captain Sarah, Chen stood on the bridge of a ship that was part human engineering and part technology beyond comprehension, watching stars that had once been unreachable destinations. The ruthless space that had seemed so hostile just days before was now full of allies they hadn't known they had. The children of Earth had indeed returned. And this time, they were bringing everyone else with them.